So, Jeff, remember when Jesus gave Peter the keys to the kingdom?
Yes.
I wonder if he did it today in the 21st century, if it would be a fob.
I don't know. Maybe.
Cuckoo?
Yeah, beep, beep. That's terrible. I don't know. So we're talking about Peter today. Is that what you brought that up?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
why.
okay.
That's
He
why.
wrote a pretty good book. We're going to start unpacking that. So he's Chris, and I'm Jeff, and we're the Bible guys. Here, hold my... That's crazy. It's the way your mind works.
It's so goofy.
Just tickles me, man.
So we're doing a segment today where they said, who said it?
Uh-oh.
And I have to warn you in advance. You didn't look at these, right?
No, I did not.
They're sort of hard.
Are they?
Yeah, these are hard
Oh,
ones.
no.
When I was reading them, I was trying to imagine if I could get them without having them in front of me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm pretty sure I would not get at least 3 out of 5.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
So if you get them,
Last week we had the one about the Bible verses.
Yeah.
Remember, that was hard, too. I only got 3 of those.
Yeah, so I'm going to read 5 quotes. Now, here's the good news.
Is Desiree coming for us? Do you think that's what's happening now? She's coming after us?
Yeah. Well, here's the bad part, or here's the good part for me.
Okay.
If I miss movies, who cares?
Yeah. But if you're going to be a Bible guy.
Right.
So these are Bible people?
Yeah, so here's the good news. These are all Bible people.
Okay.
So all you have to do is say, I think this person in the Bible said it.
Okay. Oh,
Okay.
goodness.
All right, now, here we go. Now, this one, if you think hard enough, okay, here's the quote. Let me tell you a riddle.
Oh, let me tell you. Samson.
Samson.
There you go. Yeah.
Samson said it. That's right.
Yes, that was at his wedding party.
Yes, at his wedding party, he came up with a riddle about the lion and the honey.
Good job. Yeah.
Judges 14.
Ooh.
Okay, how about
My
this
heart's
one?
beating fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, how about this one? I didn't laugh.
What?
I didn't laugh.
I didn't laugh. I don't know. I don't know that one.
Who is known because she laughed?
Sarah.
Sarah.
Yeah.
That's right. That's
when the
right.
angels came.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Genesis 18.
Okay.
See, you got that.
Thank you.
All
Thank
you
you.
need was a little hint.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So how about this one? Keep your gifts and give your rewards to someone else.
Keep your gifts. Give your rewards to someone
I'm
else.
telling you right now, I never would have got this.
Yeah. Keep your gifts and give your rewards to someone else. I have no idea.
Daniel.
Oh.
Daniel chapter 5. I don't even know what the context is.
I don't either.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Oh, good job, Daniel.
Yeah, it's before the lion's den. I know that.
Okay. I have no
Right.
idea. Yeah.
So,
Okay. You got us, Desiree.
yeah, right. Good job.
Yeah.
Ooh, you
That's
stumped
her
the
goal.
Bible guy.
That's her goal. That's her. Yes. She's got marks on her desk, in her
Right,
cubicle
right.
of just
Tallies.
how many times she's tallying.
All right, how about this one? Leave it alone. Don't disturb his bones.
Leave it alone. Don't disturb his bones. I don't know.
Josiah.
Josiah? Whose bones is he talking about?
I have no idea. Is it Elisha's?
I don't know. Josiah was a good king.
I think
I don't know.
didn't they touch Elisha's bones and the guy was healed?
Oh, maybe. I know. Well, I don't think that would be it.
No.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't either.
Wow. So there's 2. She's like,
that's,
yes.
That's why I said those
Yes.
are like, I read that and I was like, that's really
Wow,
hard.
those are hard.
This is hard. And this is easier, but to be honest with you,
here's another one.
it's pretty obscure.
They never end.
It's pretty
Okay,
obscure. This is
okay.
the last one.
Okay.
Okay. If you consider me to be a believer in the Lord, come and stay in my house.
Lydia.
Lydia.
There you go. Yep.
That's it.
Book of Acts.
Yep.
Okay.
So that was a little obscure in terms of like her popularity, but she was famous for saying that.
Yes.
So yeah, there it is. So you got 3
Well,
out of 5.
2.5. 2.5. You had to kind of nudge me on the one.
Well, you got it.
On
So,
Sarah.
good job.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
Wow.
Now I'm wondering, our listeners, did they get it? Did they get it?
Yeah. Did they get Josiah?
Right. Or Daniel,
Yeah.
That
That Daniel one was obscure.
Yeah. I don't even know what the
I don't know
reference
what that
is.
is. Yeah.
Keep your
Well, good job.
rewards.
Good job. That means
Yeah.
she's either reading the Bible or she's just digging through like.
She's Googling hard questions. Right. Hard questions from the
Yeah,
Bible.
no, I think she's finding them. She's really smart. So,
Yes.
Good.
Well, she definitely knows.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we are kicking off First Peter.
First
And
Peter.
he wrote 2 short books. Each book packs big punches. I mean, he's just really covering it. And there's a lot of persecution now. So he's an old man. There's some people believe that he was in Rome. He doesn't say that. And there's no biblical proof that he was ever in Rome, but there's church tradition that he was. And so he's writing from Rome. And the status of Christians was sort of tenuous at this point. So there was some persecution, certainly, but it was more, most Romans thought of Christians as being like still a sect of Judaism, right? And the Jewish population was always a problem, right? As a matter of fact, in 70 AD, they go in and just destroy the city of Jerusalem because of all the uprisings, right? So many of the Romans just thought of Christianity as a problem within Judaism. But it's like Peter can kind of see the storm clouds gathering, right? So yes, there's persecution. Certainly there's people being jailed and suffering for Christ, but it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
And so he's writing this letter, like you can see the storm clouds gathering, saying, hey, stand in there, right? This faith is worth it.
So this was written around 64 AD.
Yeah.
So slightly before the last letter that we just covered, right? In Timothy. But 64 AD, and so this was 6 years before they stormed and destroyed the temple.
Yeah.
And the persecution, it was more like some Romans considered Christianity legal because of its, connection to Judaism. Some were confused. Most of the persecution wasn't people being put to death under Nero, but there certainly were accounts of that.
Yeah.
It was more like they were ostracized. They were sort of shunned in everyday life, and they were just treated as outcasts, and so they were definitely treated differently as soon as it was found out that they were followers of the way.
Right. So some would say that Paul was executed probably 64 AD, and the book was written 64 AD. These may have been written. This could have been written in response to the fact that, hey, they killed one of our leaders. It could have been written kind of in that context, but certainly there's a 3 or 4 year window on either side of this that it could have happened. Anyways, let's dig in because it's interesting after having spent all this time with Paul, who talks in big run-on sentences,
Right.
to get in and hear Peter as an old man. This isn't, remember, he was the oldest of the disciples anyways, but this isn't Peter, the young fisherman, just kind of blundering through everything. There's some real depth to what he says, and he really articulates things well. But not in great big run-on sentences like Paul, which is kind of interesting.
Right.
So here we go. Let's just jump in. Not to diss Paul. Paul, we love you, man. Okay. 1 Peter chapter 1, it
So you
says,
get to heaven and it's gonna be like, dude,
come on. The Bible guys, you're going to trash me on Bible guys? No, I'm not trashing you, Paul. It's just your writing style. This letter is from Peter, an apostle of Jesus Christ. I'm writing to God's chosen people who are living as foreigners in the provinces of Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia. God, the Father, knew you and chose you long ago, and his Spirit has made you holy. As a result, you have obeyed him and have been cleansed by the blood of Jesus Christ. May God give you more and more grace and peace. All praise to God, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. It is by his great mercy that we've been born again, because God raised Jesus Christ from the dead. Now we live with great expectation, and we have a priceless inheritance, an inheritance that is kept in heaven for you, pure and undefiled, beyond the reach of change and decay. And through your faith, God is protecting you by his power until you receive this salvation, which is ready to be revealed on the last day for all to see. So be truly glad. There's a wonderful joy ahead, even though you have to endure many trials for a little while. These trials will show that your faith is genuine. It is being tested as fire tests and purifies gold, though your faith is far more precious than mere gold. So when your faith remains strong through many trials, it'll bring you much praise and glory and honor on the day when Jesus Christ is revealed to the whole world. You love him even though you've never seen him. Though you do not see him now, you trust him, and you rejoice with a glorious, inexpressible joy. The reward for trusting him will be the salvation of your souls. This salvation was something even the prophets wanted to know more about when they prophesied about his gracious salvation prepared for you. They wondered what time or situation the Spirit of Christ within them was talking about when he told them in advance about Christ's suffering and his great glory afterward. They were told that their messages was not for themselves but for you, and now this good news has been announced to you by those who preached in the power of the Holy Spirit sent from heaven. It is also so wonderful that even the angels are eagerly watching these things happen. How far do we read in this chapter?
Actually, I was wondering that myself.
Through 12. Verse 12, right there. That's what I thought. We end at 12. So.
Yeah. So Peter is, addressing their persecution by actually describing them as foreigners in the provinces. And he wasn't literally meaning, although I'm sure some were, but he was really talking about their state of existence, how they felt, right? How they were being treated.
Yeah, I think it's good for Christians to think of ourselves as, Paul refers to us as travelers.
Right.
We're just passing through. Doesn't the book of Hebrews kind of talks in that way too? Here, Peter's talking about the same thing, that we're not of this world. We're not citizens of this world. This is not home, is what is kind of the message that they're sending. And I think it's good for us to remember that it's not about settling down and getting comfortable. It's about understanding that we're just passing through this place. And so we shouldn't be surprised that we don't fit in well.
Yeah, I agree. And by the way, I do love when people are so heavenly minded and they're so confident of heaven that they talk about earth that way.
Yeah.
They talk about earth. Oh, I just can't wait to get to heaven. I can't wait to, this, it's not a doom and gloom existence, but there is sin, there is brokenness, right?
Yeah.
In fact, I'm sort of skipping to this verse, but when he talked about, we'll get to heaven, which is beyond death and decay. Mm-hmm. What did he say? Where was that at?
Yes.
Right here. It says, an inheritance that is kept in heaven for you,
which verse
pure and undefiled, beyond the reach of change and decay. Verse 4.
Yeah, verse 4.
Right. So death and decay is, our bodies are, getting worse and worse every day, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I look at pictures. In fact, didn't I show you a picture yesterday?
Yeah, you sure did. Look how young I look.
Yeah, look how young I look.
Muscular.
I had like a 27 waist, right? Which is now my thigh is 27.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I was telling stories to some of the young guys the other day. I'm 5'11", but I could dunk a volleyball in high school. And they're looking at me like, no, you couldn't. I'm like, yes, I could on a 10-foot rim. Right. They're like, there is no way you could, right?
That's so funny.
Yeah. So, it's funny. Old guys tell stories about being young.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
I ain't as good as I once was. But I was good once as I ever was.
Yep.
So the point is that death and decay of these old bodies. Mm-hmm. So this morning I'm getting ready, coming in for this, shoot for the Bible guys. And I get a phone call from a friend of a friend. And I've, talked with this person. Well, anyway, she just loses her mom. Mm. And the bad part was she saw her decline.
Yeah.
Right. So when you watch somebody decline, it's really hard because, I'll meet with people and I'll say, tell me about the best of who she was and tell me about her and her life. And, if they lived a long life, it's interesting because some people can't get past like the last 5 years.
Right.
And they'll describe this person as in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. I'm talking about the previous 65 years, right?
Right.
Back when she was full of life. Oh, yeah. When she was younger, yeah. And they'll go on, Well, anyway, so this lady calls me, and the memorial service is until June, so we have plenty of time. So I'm talking her through it, and she wants to actually get involved in grief share.
Oh yeah.
So we have a grief share at our church, which is highly encouraged. So here's what I said. I said, well, I'm really sorry for you. Now, the thing that I wanted to say was there's a song that I'm familiar with. And have you ever heard of the song, If You Could See Me Now?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Have you really?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
Okay. So did I recite the lyrics here before?
I don't know.
I don't think I have. But here's it's written from the perspective of someone who is, struggling with their bodies on earth, but they're no longer struggling because they're in heaven.
Right.
And it's written from their first person perspective.
Yeah.
And so
they're celebrating. They're celebrating.
Yes. And so the first verse and the chorus is all I'm going to say. But the first verse says, our prayers have all been answered, and I finally arrived. And the healing that had been delayed has now been realized. Mm. And no one's in a hurry, and there's no schedule to keep. We're all enjoying Jesus just sitting at his feet. Mm. And then it says, if you could see me now, I am walking streets of gold. If you could see me now, I'm standing tall and whole. Mm. And if you could see me now, you'd know I've seen his face. And if you could see me now, you'd know that the pain is erased.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't want me to ever leave this perfect place. You could only see me now.
Yeah.
And that's what I think. That's what I thought of. I think when I do her memorial service, I'm gonna quote that for her.
You know, I think that that's one of Paul's themes through all of Paul's writings. So when we would read, and you'd be amazed at the fact that he seemed fearless. He didn't care about the persecution. And it was because he always had this heavenly mindset that heaven was the goal, not this place. So I shouldn't be surprised there's a problem. And then when you come to Peter, and Peter starts off that way,
right.
Same thing. These two old men are they're fathers of the faith, and both of them in the face of persecution, it's not that they're fearless, but they just fear less.
Right.
I think because of heaven. Heaven is so real, and I think one of the benefits of the way that we preach in the church that we lead and things is we're helping people believe that the Bible is true because it's easily applicable to our lives. We can choose to apply it. We see that. So if we talk about marriage or we talk about raising kids or something, but sometimes immature Christians will just take Scripture as being for their life today, and God's whole goal is to make their life better because they desire a utopia. That's what they desire. In our natural flesh, in our immature spirituality, we desire that God would make everything better here. But Paul and Peter and the other apostles, they had matured to the point where here is hopeless.
Right.
So are there moments? Sure, there's beautiful sunrises and there's wonderful moments with family and laughter and those kinds of things. But everybody we know, if Jesus doesn't come back, everybody we know is going to die.
That's right.
Everything is going to fall apart. Everything goes back to dust. This is a life of decay and struggle. And then when you lift your eyes up a little further and you realize it's a world of war and disease and violence and the hatred towards humanity and stealing and taking advantage of other people, the more you begin to lift your eyes up, the more you begin to desire heaven.
Right.
And that's what these guys do. So it's not about making you miserable on this earth. Of course, you should enjoy what God gave you. Just understand this is nothing compared to what God has for us.
The book of Romans tells us that we're under the bondage of sin and decay.
Yeah, the curse.
The curse, which is what Peter's mentioning.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, when you started talking about Paul, I was imagining going to heaven, and then Peter's finding you go, dude, we're done with Paul.
Yeah. Quit talking about Paul.
Can you talk about Peter? You're in Peter, right? It's like Marcia. Right? It's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
But you know what I remember?
Well, I was trying to tie the two together.
I know.
Paul talked about that all the time, and then Peter picks right up.
You came back with Peter. This is good.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a teenager, and I remember one of the speakers, and the reality is, I would never forget this statement, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. He goes, "Look around you." He goes, "Look at everybody in this auditorium." It was like an oratorium, like a what do you call those things? Pavilions.
Pavilion.
Right. So there's like maybe 1,500 people. So it's massive, right? It's huge. You look around you, look at every person in here, and he goes, 100 years from now, every single person in here will be dead and gone. And it's one of the first times ever, I think, as a teenager, somebody said that, and I thought, what? I was like, that's right. He goes, every single person alive will be gone in 100 years.
Right.
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 I mean, if they're of significant age already, right?
Right.
And so it's like, what? I just could not even fathom that. And just the turnover,
right?
So when you said that, I'm like, yep, that is so true, man.
And so we have to get the idea that this isn't something to fear,
right?
Right. We're looking forward to the reward that Christ has for us. He calls it our priceless inheritance, right? And it's kept in heaven for you. It's pure and it's undefiled. It's beyond the reach of change and decay. And if we can get a heavenly mindset, it resets how we see life and what our mission, our purpose is today. I want to take as many people with me as I can. That's my goal, right? So that becomes the mission instead of just, okay, I hope you do well. Our listeners, I hope you do well at work. I do. I hope that you figure out ways to improve your career. I think that's good. I just don't know that that's a life worth giving your entire life to. right? It's a good cause. It's a good thing, especially if you're going to choose to be generous to God's kingdom and invest in moving his kingdom forward. And of course, providing for your family. We've already read in the past, I don't want to say his name again, so I don't want to get in trouble, but he wrote about the importance of providing for our families. There's all those kinds of things. But ultimately, there's so much more to your existence than just accumulating and achieving, right? Yeah. And so I think that's why you have both Paul and Peter looking up above those things and going, man, we have something so much better. And because of that, I feel like they were less afraid of the consequences of their faith. You know, many of us, we're just afraid of getting canceled. We're afraid of getting fired. We're afraid that if we speak up about the things of God, that somebody's going to punish us by, kicking us out of the circle or, cutting our income or something. We're just afraid of that. These guys died for their faith, both of them. Peter was crucified, Paul was beheaded. And at the same time, they were like, but this is worth it because we have this priceless inheritance. So whatever I'm worried about hanging on to tightly here is nothing compared to the priceless inheritance I have in heaven, right? And it changes everything when you think that way.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that.
And then one of the other verses that I was loving on here was when he was talking about the fire tests and purifies gold.
I love that passage.
Yeah. These trials will show you that your faith is genuine. It is being tested as fire tests and purifies gold, though your faith is far more precious than gold. And,
than mere gold.
Than mere gold. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Than just goofy old
just
gold. It's just gold. Blech. By the way, there's a joke that I know. There's a joke that I know.
Really?
Yes.
Is it clean?
It is a good joke.
Oh, okay, good.
So guy's really rich. He dies. He goes to heaven, meets Peter at the pearly gates. And Peter's like, hey, welcome. And the guy says, you don't understand how rich I was. He goes, I was so rich. And he goes, do you think that God would consider me bringing some of my wealth into heaven? And he's like, well, you're so insistent. At least I'll check. So he goes and checks. He comes back. He goes, to my surprise, he goes, God said, yeah, bring what you can. He goes, you can go back and fit everything you can in one suitcase. So he gives him the suitcase and sends him back for a day. So this guy goes back and just liquefies everything and just decides to just put gold bars, just converts everything to gold, right?
Right.
And he puts them all in a suitcase. And then he realized, as he's trying to pack more and more in, he realized that there's space between the gold bars. And this guy's so greedy, he wants to get all of it, right? So he decides to ground the gold into gold bullion,
right?
Mm-hmm. So it's like powder. And he went ahead and just, stuffed as much as he could. There's not a single bubble of airspace left. And so he's dragging this suitcase and he's back into heaven. He's dragging this thing, down the way to the gates. And by this time, he was famous. He's the only person ever allowed to do this.
Right.
So everybody's gathered around. So Peter's in the front. There's a huge crowd, as far as the eye can see.
Right.
And this guy's dragging this thing. And he goes, man, we've all showed up because we're so excited. He goes, what did you bring? And the guy says, watch this. Wait till you see this. And he flips it open, opens up the thing. And Peter looks down and looks and goes, oh, you brought asphalt?
Pothole filler? Really?
Right.
That's what you needed to bring to heaven with it. Yeah.
Mere gold.
Yeah, mere gold. Yeah,
that's what Peter says. Mere gold. Come on, it was good, right?
Yeah, that's a good one.
So anyway, it's just I know that our time is running thin, so I just want to say, the purifying of gold is that you heat it up, and then all the impurities come to the surface, and then you skim off the surface to purify the gold. And what he says is trials are like that to our faith, right? Because all the stuff that doesn't matter, all the unwanted stuff in our lives, all the stuff that just, that it may come into play when considering things, when things are going well. But when things aren't going well, man, only what matters, right?
That's right.
And everything comes to the surface and it's skimmed off the top, and our faith gets purified through trials because it's like purified gold. It's just a wonderful, wonderful illustration.
It's fantastic.
So,
and it's worth it to go through that purifying.
Yes,
right?
Yes. Yeah. And even though it's difficult, the heating and the purifying, all of that's difficult. In the end, there's a better product.
Yep.
So, well, that's probably all we have time for, and we will see you next time on the Bible Guys.